I spent almost a decade trying to fix my mind the wrong way. Journaling apps, breathing exercises, meditation retreats, self-help books stacked on my nightstand like a shrine to anxiety. And none of it gave me what I actually wanted, which was just to feel calm, to feel in control, to stop being wrecked by things that honestly didn't even matter that much. Here is everything I wish someone had told me sooner. There were no therapists in ancient Rome, no cognitive behavioral therapy, no prescription pads, no 50-minute sessions at $200 an hour. And yet, the Stoics somehow mastered their minds better than most people do today. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire while grieving the deaths of his children and facing constant war. Epictetus was literally born a slave and still became one of the most psychologically free humans who ever lived. How? They had a system, a real, practical, battle-tested system for the mind, and today you are going to learn exactly what it was. Here is why this actually matters right now. The American Psychological Association reported in 2023 that stress levels across all age groups are at near-record highs. People are more overwhelmed than ever, more reactive, more fragile, and the modern solution, therapy, medication, wellness culture, helps some people. But it also created something the Stoics never had: dependency. The idea that you cannot be okay unless a system outside of you fixes you first. The Stoics believed the opposite. They believed that peace is not something you find. It is something you build, inside yourself, using your own mind every single day. No waiting room required. That is not arrogance. That is the most empowering idea in the history of human thought. And the 5 practices they used to get there are so simple that you are going to be frustrated nobody handed them to you 20 years ago. Let's get into it. Practice number 1. The Stoics called it the morning examination, and Marcus Aurelius did it every single morning before he did anything else. Before meetings, before decisions, before he picked up a sword or signed a law, he sat with his thoughts, and he asked himself one question. What is actually in my control today? Not what might happen. Not what other people might do, not the news, the weather, the economy, or anyone else's opinion of him, just what is mine to control? This is not a motivational exercise. This is a psychological triage, because your brain, left to itself, will spend 80% of its energy on things you cannot change. That is not weakness. That is just how the human nervous system works. It scans for threats. It fixates on worst-case scenarios. The morning audit is the override switch. You are training your brain, literally rewiring its default pattern, to stop wasting energy on what is outside your jurisdiction. Start tomorrow. 5 minutes. 1 question. Write down what is in your control today. Watch what happens to the rest of your day. Practice number 2, and this one is going to feel uncomfortable. It is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca wrote about this in 65 AD. The practice is simple and it sounds dark. Every day, you deliberately imagine losing the things you love most: your health, your relationships, your job, your sense of safety. You sit with that discomfort on purpose. Now, before you click away, hear me out. This is not pessimism. This is the exact opposite of anxiety. Anxiety is your brain imagining loss and panicking because it feels unprepared. Negative visualization is your brain imagining loss and realizing, I can handle this. I have thought about this. I am not blindsided. Seneca said it perfectly. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. The Stoics used this practice to drain fear of its voltage. When you have already faced the worst in your mind, the actual worst loses most of its power over you. 2 minutes. Every morning or evening, imagine it. Sit with it, then let it go. You will feel something shift almost immediately. Practice number 3 is the one that will change your relationships, your career, and the way other people see you, faster than anything else on this list. The Stoics called it creating space. Viktor Frankl, who survived 3 Nazi concentration camps and built an entire school of psychology around this idea, said it in one sentence that should be tattooed on every human being. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years before Frankl wrote it down. Epictetus taught his students that the moment something happens to you, an insult, a failure, a shock, your first impression is automatic. You cannot stop it. But your response is always a choice. Always. The practice is literally just the pause. Someone says something that triggers you. You pause. Something goes wrong. You pause. You feel the impulse to react. You pause. 3 seconds. That is it. In those 3 seconds, you go from being a person that life happens to a person who chooses how to meet life. That is what unshakable actually looks like. Practice number 4. This one is strange. This one is where the Stoics stop sounding like philosophers and start sounding like the toughest people you have ever met. Musonius Rufus, one of the lesser-known Stoics and arguably one of the most hardcore, taught a practice called voluntary discomfort. Here is what it looks like in practice. Once a week, Stoic students would deliberately choose to be uncomfortable. They would sleep on the floor, fast for a day, walk outside in the cold without a coat, take a cold bath, not as punishment, as training. The point was not suffering. The point was the realization that follows. I survived that. It was not as bad as I feared. I am stronger than I thought. Modern neuroscience has a name for what this does to your brain. It is called stress inoculation. Small, controlled doses of discomfort literally reduce your anxiety response to larger stressors. You are building a tolerance to the very thing that overwhelms you. The Stoics figured this out with zero brain scanning technology in the 1st century AD. Start small. Cold shower tomorrow morning. 20 seconds. See what it tells you about yourself. Practice number 5. Seneca wrote about this one extensively in his letters to Lucilius, written around 65 AD, and it is the bookend to the morning audit. Every evening, the Stoics conducted what they called the evening review. 3 questions. That is the entire practice. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What will I do differently tomorrow? Not to punish yourself, not to spiral into guilt. The Stoics were ruthless about the difference between useful reflection and useless self-flagellation. Seneca wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said. I hide nothing from myself." This is not journaling as a vibe. This is a deliberate daily calibration of the person you are becoming. Therapy, at its best, tries to help you understand your patterns so you can change them. The Stoics did this themselves, every night, for free, in 5 minutes. They were their own therapists, and they were brutally honest ones. Here is the thing that connects all 5 of these practices. The thread that runs through every single one of them. The Stoics were not trying to feel happy. They were not chasing some permanent state of bliss. They were building something much more durable than happiness. They were building equanimity, the ability to remain steady, not numb, not disconnected, not emotionally flat, but steady, rooted, present, functional, no matter what. Every single one of these 5 practices targets the same enemy, the gap between what happens to you and how you respond to it. The morning audit shrinks that gap. Negative visualization diffuses it. The pause gives you control of it. Voluntary discomfort strengthens you against it. The evening review teaches you from it. If you want to go deeper, and I mean significantly deeper, the original source text for almost all of this is Epictetus. His discourses are the closest thing that exists to a Stoic therapy manual. If you prefer audio, the Audible version is outstanding. I will link it below. Reading Epictetus is not like reading philosophy. It is like having a brutally honest coach sit down across from you and refuse to let you make excuses for your own suffering. It is genuinely one of the most useful books I have ever read. So here is what I want you to actually do. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Today. Pick one. Just one of the 5 practices from this video. The morning audit is the easiest starting point. 5 minutes, 1 question, write it down. Do it for 7 days in a row. Just 7. Not because of some dramatic life transformation promise, but because in 7 days you will have enough data from your own life to know that this works. The Stoics did not read about philosophy and then go live their regular lives. They used philosophy as a daily operating system. That is the difference between people who feel overwhelmed by life and people who feel like they are moving through it with intention and calm. You now have the system. You know what to do. The only question is whether you actually use it. If this video gave you something useful, something you are actually going to use, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who need it. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Every video on this channel is built around one idea, that ancient philosophy is not history. It is a manual for the life you are living right now. I will see you in the next one. Disclaimer. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing constitutes professional advice of any kind.